Well, delightful delinquents. Is this live? I don't know. But here's what I can tell you.
No offense, David Jaffe, but that's bullshit.
You goddamn right. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome to the Gabbin' and the Games. Somebody was asking, this is Gabbin' and Games live, by the way. There'll be a distinction that you'll understand down the road. But it is Gabbin' and Games live. Somebody was asking, Jaffe, how do you get away with not getting the copyright strikes? And my answer is I don't. But I just delete them. So what happens is this goes live, and then YouTube doesn't check it usually until after it's done being live, and right afterwards I'll just chop it out. Now, today was and remains, the intention of today is to be a fun, good show. And you know, we're going to talk game news. We're going to just talk game culture, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's hard to be that light when we're about to start World War III. I don't know if you guys have been watching the news. This is happening right now. Dozens, possible hundreds of ballistic missiles are impacting across southern and central Israel. These are coming from Iran. Well, hang on now. I'm not answering that. These are coming from Iran, and usually they have that dome, what's it called, the Iron Dome, that does a pretty good job preventing these sorts of shenanigans, but not so at the moment. And apparently the United States have sent a bunch of people, Marines and whatnot, soldiers over there to kind of prep for something. So we'll see, man. I mean, this is, well, yeah. So this is not really meant to be a show about that. We are going to talk games and pop culture and stupid shit. But like I said, I didn't want to open the show without, you know, kind of acknowledging it because, you know, we're on the verge, boys. Smoking on Fire says, buckle up, Gen Z. Here comes the draft. I don't think you're going to see a draft because I don't think most people would sign up for it. I think most people would go, okay, fuck it. The only way you'd see a draft that works in America anymore is if we're being attacked personally. But I don't think you're going to... There's just too much knowledge out in the world now because of the internet and whatnot about what the wars really are for and who they benefit. And it ain't us, and it ain't people who love the freedom or hate the freedom. It ain't us. It's the people in charge. And so I think a lot of people would say, yeah, go fuck your war. Yeah, Luke says I'd go to jail before I fight a war like this. Right. I think that's most people, unless of course you're being attacked. But anyway, we're not gonna be spending any real time talking about that today because I know that's not what you come here for. But it is happening out there, and obviously the debates are happening tonight. It'll be very interesting to hear the conversations from these folks. Hey, Craig Hooligan, thank you, buddy. He's been a member of the Cult Eclipse over 30 months. He says, sending love to anyone who was affected by the hurricane and flooding, which was a lot of people as well. Thank you for the subscriptions and the support, Craig. Think about that, man. Think about just it's rough out there. It is rough out there. Bukaki says, this is what I came here for. You goddamn right. Don't you have a house to crawl under, you fucking cockroach? Yeah! You guys don't understand. He literally crawls under houses for a living. But he makes good money. It's fucking good money, baby. More money than I make. Not too shabby, baby. What do I think of G.I. Joe in general? Somebody in the chat is asking. I bought the very first G.I. Joe toy. No, that's wrong. I did have the early 70s G.I. Joe toys, from time to time when I was growing up. But the first one I bought the Marvel comic. I still have it, number 1. I also have the much in demand Marvel comic G.I. Joe number 2, which was really hard to get. It was easy for me because I just bought it at the drugstore, but it's a hard thing to collect because no one really expected G.I. Joe 1, the issue, to be super successful, and it flew off the fucking shelves. And I bought the comic, I loved it, and I went to Service Merchandise and I picked up Rock and Roll, the original Rock and Roll, I guess it was Hasbro at the time, probably still is, and the motorcycle. And I was quite smitten with G.I. Joe, and I loved the TV, the cartoon. I used to watch that well into junior high. And I know that made me a pariah for some of the ladies there, but I didn't care because I had my eye on Baroness and Scarlet. So yes, I like G.I. Joe. But I will tell you, I was surprised because there is a beat 'em up out in the video game world called, I think it's The Rise of Cobra or whatever. But it's like a, it's a Ninja Turtles, Simpsons 90s era beat 'em up. And I was excited for this. And I played the demo about 7 months ago, and I thought it was absolutely abysmally stupid and boring. But then I have been seeing some reviews come out that are saying, hey, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, Wrath of Cobra, Samar is what it's called. But so I'm going to have to give it another look because the demo they put out was terrible, just terrible. But maybe the game shaped up in the meantime. Chain Whippin says, service merchandise at Eastwood Mall. Are you from the Beham, my good sir? Yeah, that was the one. Boy, I'll tell you, you guys don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know how old you people are, but you guys don't know just how, there was a store at that mall that was called Software City. And you would go in, and this was like 81, 80, whatever. And the only place you could get games for your Apple or TRS-80 or whatever, except Radio Shack, was, you'd go in and you'd buy a game in a little Ziploc bag, and you'd have to wait for them to open. And it was Alabama, and you couldn't pick up video games on Sunday in Alabama because it was religious holiday, so nothing was open. And now think about it. Just think about, again, you can't if you are of the last couple of generations. But you want a game now, man? You just, 2 a.m, you get on Steam. Oh, Steam's doing a turn-based RPG festival. All right. Cool. Whatever you want, man. Any time of the day. Everywhere before wasn't open on Sunday, says RPG. That's not true. That's not true. In the South, they had, and I think to some extent they still have, but not as extreme, something called blue laws. Was it blue laws? It was laws that said you literally, and you'd think the First Amendment would kind of step in here, or the Supreme something. But it was like, you can't open your store on a Sunday unless it was like a restaurant or something. But if you wanted to open, like the malls weren't open or anything. And obviously that's changed. But religion, baby, it'll fuck you up every single time, in my opinion. But you know what I think. Keon says, I live in Alabama and Birmingham has become abysmal with crime. Bessemer, which is in Birmingham, is a city in Birmingham, apparently is the most violent city in America, which is where my aunt used to live. We used to go spend Christmas morning there. But anyway, so hopefully the world won't end. Hopefully people are safe all over the world. As much as I don't want to see Israel go away, and as much as I have problems with Netanyahu and a number of their actions, I also think they deserve to have a state just like the Palestinians. And hopefully this will all come to some kind of peaceful result, but not until a lot of people are dead, which sucks. Scream 7. Listen, I don't only bring up Scream 7. I had lost the thread of the Scream movies. I don't know if you guys watch these. But me and Calvin, my son, watched Scream. I don't know what number it was. It was the one, probably the latest one. It was the one with Jenna Ortega. And the one where the woman, speaking of Israel, the woman who played her sister got fired from the sequel because she had said something about Israel being a genocidal state and apartheid and all this, and they fired her, and then Ortega stepped out, and the director stepped out, but now they announced today that Neve Campbell of Twisted Metal, see, I bring it back, babies, Twisted Metal, the TV series, and she will be back as Sydney, and it will be directed by the original director, the original director's dead, Wes Craven, but it was written by Kevin Williamson, who also went on to create that thing with Joey and Dawson's Creek, and he wrote it, and he also created that, and he's directed a bunch of things like The Faculty, but now he's back to direct this as well. So, you know, but I got to tell you, I did enjoy The Last Scream. You know, I like the motion picture shows where the murderer is supernatural, right? I like that. I don't like it when it's like Scooby-Doo. You know, and it's kind of like, you know, oh, we pull the mask off at the end, and it was like, you rotten kids, right? I don't like that. I like it when, like, that's like Eli Roth put out Thanksgiving recently, or whatever it was called, which I was super excited about because of the trailer in front of the Tarantino and Rodriguez Grindhouse movie. But the movie was terrible, and at the end, it was just kind of like, oh no, you took off the mask, and it's this guy. I'm like, come on, man. Give me Terrifier. Give me Art the Clown. Give me some people who are capable of supernatural feats, baby. Yeah, Terrifier Buzzati is coming out this month in October. Welcome to spooky season, you sons of bitches. Look at this. I got the background all set up for us and everything. That's not the background. There you go. Brandon Martin, thank you for the super chat. He says, I'm playing Zoo. I don't even know how to say it. It's Zoocosis on Steam. He says it's a great game. This is the game about the weird mutated creatures that I believe get loose in the zoo or something. It's supposed to be pretty good. I'll tell you what, man. This is what I've been playing on Steam. I've been playing Mouthwashing. I know it's a crazy name. Kind of makes sense. This is interesting. I don't agree with the overwhelming positive reviews that this has gotten. People are like losing their shit over it. But it is absolutely cool. It's very neat in how it does its storytelling. It's more of a sort of horror walking simulator than a proper survival horror or anything like that. But it's neat, man. It's very short. I think I've almost finished it. It is about this spaceship that crashes, and there's five. You've seen movies like this, right? Where it's like, oh, the spaceship crashes and somebody starts to go insane, and it's kind of like has a little bit of the theme, a little bit of Alien, and it's absolutely worth it if you're looking for a game that is fresh and unique, and it's a one sitting or a two sitting game, and you just like the art form. I'm sure I'll be talking about this in more detail on some other shows about how it does its storytelling and things like that. So, yes, Avoid the Void says Echo Point Nova is out. I have a code for that. I will be streaming that. That is from the developer of Severed Steel, one of my favorite shooters of all time. Very underrated shooter. Pretty much if you want to play a John Wick movie, go play Severed Steel. But Echo Point Nova is much more ambitious, bigger world. There's a lot of kind of like hoverboarding and grappling, and I hear it's pretty good though. I hear it's very, very good. So I'm going to be giving that place very, very soon. Jaffe, Onimusha will come back or not, says Gino Soul. I don't think so. No, I don't. I mean, look, if it. Konami, Capcom recently put out a kind of a survey saying, "Hey, here's what people are asking. What is a deluxe digital remaster, right? Which is what they're calling Dead Rising Deluxe Digital Remaster." And they explain what it is, and they said, "Hey, would any of you guys like another one of these?" And so I could see them doing that. Obviously, everybody wants Dino Crisis, but I could see them doing that with Onimusha, maybe. But that particular subject matter is now so oversaturated. If you look at Rise of the Ronin, and if you look at Tsushima, and then the new one that they just announced, Ghost of whatever it's called, Ghost. I have no idea what it's called. Ghost of Yeti or something. And then there's Assassin's Creed Shadows. So my guess is I don't think that's coming back anytime soon. But to see them do a digital deluxe remaster of something like Dino Crisis or even Devil May Cry 1, I mean, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Can you imagine? A Devil May Cry digital deluxe remaster? Come on now. Let me tell you something. I want to get some of these very, very kind. There was another one in here. I just don't want to miss anybody's super chats. 1 second. And maybe I didn't, but I want to be sure. Okay, there we go. I got it. I got that one. But yeah, I mean, I hope so. Mutant Mo says, I'll ask again later about the Tekken drama. I mean, the Tekken 8 drama, honestly, I can't speak to it much. I'm not a Tekken guy. My best ability to speak to it would say fans are upset because they thought one of the environments was going to be free, one of the like DLC environments, because previous Tekken games had been free DLC or something. And he's like, you know, the interesting part about it to me was he said, look, the development team and the marketing team are very separate. They're two different companies almost. And basically his job, he said, as a director, he said, I dropped the ball. It was my job to make sure that the marketing people and the people who price this stuff understood what the fans needed and wanted and thought was respectable to them. And so he's kind of falling on the sword, as a lot of the Japanese executives tend to do, and saying, it was my bad, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to change it. Mutant Mo says, yeah, the upgrade pack is a whopping 40 ducats too. But I'm assuming the upgrade pack, does it come with characters or it just comes with backgrounds? But yeah, so G says, my only problem with the Tekken stage thing is you can't purchase it with the premium currency they offer. Yeah, I don't really follow it. But is it just the background? In which case, yeah, it'd be nice to have it. But is that, how do you charge $40 for there's no way it's just the background. There's got to be characters in that as well. They can't just be selling you a goddamn background. But anyway, I don't know much about it. I do know a little bit about this though. Okay, Mutant Mo says it's just characters with early access for drops and some outfits. So you're telling me that there's charging $40 for a bunch of characters? Thank you, From the Bay. From the Bay comes in hot. He says, hey, Mr. Jefferson, I have a cleaners and I'm moving on up with Wheezy. I can't help but be racist. It's true. Why the early show, says David Seeger. Why the small dick? I don't know. I don't know. I just get something. It's early. It's early. I like early. My brain is fresher for live shows early. I'm starting to find. Listen to this. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a war story. You want a war story? David Muir says, do you still keep up with Scott? I'm going to tell you the truth about this here. And I don't like this story, truth be told. Because it makes me sad. It makes me sad. But I'm going to put my glasses on so I can kind of protect myself from the emotional blowback that's coming my way. So, you know, Scott and I, you wouldn't know it by looking at me. You probably wouldn't know it by looking at him. I think he's got like a short man complex. I've never had a problem being short, but Scott's big athlete. He likes to, bike and all this shit. Good dude. Really good dude. Good, great dad, great husband. He's a good human being. I like the guy, as a human, but, we're both pretty alpha when it comes to development. We want our way and we think we know best. And so we would butt heads. And for the longest time, now if you know, Scott was my co-creator, co-director on the Twisted Metal video game series. And for the longest time, that alpha v alpha was mitigated or managed because I worked for Sony and they got their paychecks from Sony, which wasn't to say that I was Scott's boss. It was, no one ever thought of it that way. And I there was no reason to think of it that way because that wasn't the case. I never was, but Alan Becker was. Alan Becker ran Sony Santa Monica, and I had Alan's ear and Alan trusted me. And, for a long time, that structure worked because Scott and I would butt heads and Alan was a very fair guy and he would listen, but he would also kind of allow me to have a little bit of freedom creatively to push back when he thought it was merited, which was usually. And so for the longest time, that relationship worked. But when Scott and I went off to start a new company, which was Eat, Sleep, Play, we didn't have that safety net of sort of a God on high to kind of go, when you guys start butting heads, we can always blame it on Sony, right? And so we ended up really, I think, and I don't know if you would agree or not, I think we ended up really destroying whatever friendship was there during Twisted Metal 2012. And part of it was I was coming off God of War, and it wasn't that I wasn't a team player, but I'm like, look, I'm kind of the shit right now. I don't need to justify every single fucking decision to every single fucking junior artist on the team just because they don't understand or like what Jaffe's doing, right? And I get it. I get my take. I get the take of Scott going, I got to manage these chuckleheads. What do you want from me, right? So I get it. But that was grating. And after a while, and this is where it really, this is to me the moment where I said, okay, I can't be in a friendship. I can be cordial. I can show a great deal of respect to the man because he's earned it and he's a good person. There's not a thing in the world wrong with him that I've ever experienced. But our relationship had fallen apart, I think. And I was on a call with Sony marketing about something or other. And he joined, and I was busy doing 20 things at once, and I was muted. So he didn't know I was on the call. And halfway through the call, he started saying things that were clearly, bite backs and attacks and mocking my tone, my style, whatever. And, later in the call, I was like, well, I'm going to have to drop the hammer because I have to say something now, just as it relates to the call we were on. And you could tell, or at least in my head, maybe he didn't care, but in my head, I could tell that he was very shocked that I had been on the call. But that was the moment, once that happens, it doesn't mean I've lost respect for him as a human or anything like that. But once that happens, you go, no matter what the person says, no matter how angry we might have been with each other, I can't trust that person anymore to not talk shit behind my back. And so I don't really have an interest to reach out. Like I said, I still have great respect for him. I love so many members of that team. Michael Jackson, we had a guy named Michael Jackson on the team. Randy Zorko, genius, although he is the guy who put the racing in Twisted Metal. No, was that him? Or was it him, or was it Bartholomew? It was one of them. Might have been Zorko. Anyway, obviously Kellen Hatch. Come on now. I mean, these guys are amazing. Mike Badger, good God almighty. Amazing, talented group of people making video games out there. But yeah, I think that relationship is done, is what I would say. And it's unfortunate, but that's the creative business, man. It's like a lot of times you look at bands and you say, why did the bands break up? And the very thing that makes the bands great is the thing that ultimately leads to them breaking up, which is you've got a lot of egos, and ego's not a bad thing, but you've got a lot of people that, feel, passionate, and they're intelligent, and they're well trained, and they have a vision, and you're gonna butt heads, and after a while it grates on you, man. What was the reaction to others on the call? I don't think anybody cared, or if they did, they didn't say, let's talk about this, let's change the subject, but let's stay on video games, shall we? I don't like this person. Speaking of, and I do like Scott, I just don't think I can trust Scott, but I like him. I don't like Vera Dark, whatever the fuck her name is. Listen to this. Let me get this super chat first, or this member chat. 1 second. I do want to say, Dustin Hadid, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, the green screen is back. I love you, Pappy Jaffe. I love you right back, Dustin. Let's make a baby. And if the baby comes out and they have super secret superhero powers, I get to name him or her as a superhero. But thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Salvador Welcome back to the Diet Soda Soldiers, sir. I appreciate it. It's always good to have you here. Good to have you part of our Discord, and good to have you here on the show as always. Thank you, buddy. Listen now. I don't like this lady, Vera Dark. It's just, you know, I don't know. Vera Dork. There you go. Listen. This is what she wrote. Gaming journos should be required to live stream upload a complete unedited playthrough of a game on their socials in order to continue receiving review codes from publishers. This allows the audience to see their authentic reactions and ensures transparency. It also holds journalists accountable, ensuring they actually play the entire game before writing and releasing a review. Let me make something clear, okay? First off, gaming journos, you know, if the publishers want to withhold codes from them, if they don't do that, fine. That's up to the publisher. Most gaming journalists worth their salt, or more importantly, most gaming critics, which are different, would not really have that. They just go, well, fuck you. I'm not doing it. You don't get to see how I make my sausage. You either like my reviews or you don't like my reviews. And in that, you can decide if we're an outlet you want to work with. But the minute you start taking orders, like you're a short order cook from anyone when it comes to how to do your work, unless you work for them, is the minute you kind of start to slide into being an outlet or being a product that no one trusts, because there's all these other agendas that have nothing to do with pleasing the audience in the end. But more importantly, this allows the audience to see the authentic reaction and ensures transparency. I'll tell you what, Vera Dark. Vera Dark is a channel on the YouTube, and all she does for the... Let's go there. And again, I'm not knocking her personally, although I guess I kind of am, aren't I? But I'm not knocking her personally, because there's a lot of people out there who do this kind of malarkey. But she was the one with the tweet, so she's in my, she's on my radar at the moment. But,
social media has been
okay, toxic. Don't buy it if you don't like There's a Girl in the New Ghost Tsushima. Self-destructs. Indiana Jones is filled. It's this kind of shit. It's a red-headed female version of The Quartering, basically. Ubisoft to replace men with women and non... It's like, so here's what I'll say. Vera Dork. What I will say to you is, okay, if you demand a level of authenticity from journalists, then we should ask the same from you. Are you really as outraged and mad at is this, because to be Vera Dark based on her YouTube channel is to be a person who is consistently and constantly, which means the same thing, miserable and upset about the world and just fucking mad at everything. Okay? And so, yeah, okay, fine. You can be that. You can demand that of journalists, but I would like to ask the same of you, is what I would say. Cosmic Bandito says, boy, you are glazing over real issues. What are my issues I'm glazing over? I'm just saying that, you're really mad or not. Vitaphone says, to be honest, though, I agree. Film critics must actually watch a film. RT doesn't. I don't know what RT is, which is a contributing reason why scores on platforms that don't require verification is sus as fuck. Oh, you're saying Rotten Tomatoes doesn't? Again, that's a different... Again, you can agree that the reviewers that you care about and trust have, in whatever way satisfies you, made it clear to them or clear to you that they do indeed complete the games they play. And if they don't, they should call them impressions or whatever. You have every right, Vitaphone, to have that take, of course. And there's nothing wrong with that take. I would agree with that take in a lot of cases. But that's not what she's saying. She's saying to get the codes, you should be required. And there's a sense of transparency that is demanded. And I would say, I would demand the same from her, which I don't think she could deliver. You can't tell me she doesn't wake up and look at the news and go, what can I bitch about today? What can I complain about today? What can I use to tell the world that it is unfair and you are being taken for a ride by the powers that be, which you're not one of? Thank you for watching. Thank you for the money that allows me to transition into one of those powers that be. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Say what you want about Jaffe, but he's fair, says John. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Let's talk about Ubisoft being based and not changing Yasuke. Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah. Now she has my rant to complain about. Yeah, you're welcome to it, Vera Dork. You are absolutely welcome to it. You're welcome to come on this show and discuss this with me. Or I'll come on your show if you want. But I think all you do, look, if you're not a shill for anger and rage bait, that's great. But you must be really sad a lot, is what I would say. Okay. Yeah, Marm says it's impossible to have a demand for reviewers. I mean, I don't think you should. I don't think, here's the only demand you should make on reviewers. If you don't provide me with content I appreciate and trust, then go fuck yourself. I'm going to go somewhere else. That's pretty good, right? That's not too shabby. I like that. Okay. Okay, so interesting. Corey says, I don't need a video showing the whole playthrough, but I think showing the achievements or trophies would be nice. Sure. Make the reviewers who do that the ones that you listen to then. But they don't owe you that. But certainly you don't owe them your views, right? So find the ones that do that and embrace them and support them and go to their Patreon or whatever. 7 says my wife left me for a Kratos impersonator. Look, I don't blame her. He's a good looking dude. He's actually not a good looking dude. That was the point. Although if you want to question if there's sexism in the game fandom, here's your answer. So we intentionally made Kratos mostly unattractive in his face, right? I've talked about this before, but I remember going to, I can see the conversation now because I remember where they sat, but it wasn't Charlie. It might have been Charlie. Charlie might have moved where he sat in the office. But anyway, I said, we're working on his face. And I said, can we break his nose or something? I don't want him to look like a matinee idol. I want him to look like a fucking dude who's been through battles and gotten the shit kicked out of him. And his face reflects that, right? And we did that. Nobody was like, oh, he's too ugly to play, right? No one said a thing. No one said a goddamn cockadoodie thing. But anyway, though, we did intentionally make his face not very attractive. But we did make, he was buff because he needed to be like a badass action hero. And you can take this for what you want. But there was a woman I worked with who, back in the day, she was working at the studio as a contractor. And she said, man, Kratos is so fucking hot. I said, really? I said, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. She goes, oh yeah, he's fucking, he's chick bait. I'm like, cool. All right, good. But then like 10 years after she came out as a lesbian. So I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know what this character is, but certainly, the new Kratos. I don't know. Let me ask you a question. Cause a lot of the ladies or the gay men say they like the dad bod. Well, okay. Who do you think, if these two guys walk into a bar, my Kratos and Corey's Kratos, which one do you think could leave with more chicks? Just for one night stands? That's my question. Now, the new Kratos, Corey's Kratos, would be kinder and sweeter and nicer. Not much, but, he's changed. He's evolved. And mine would be the same guy. You don't know if you're going to go home and wake up alive. He's not going to kill you unless you're a bad guy or you can do something for him. But you'll probably have the best goddamn sexier fucking life. Jeeves says it depends on which ones are having daddy issues. That's a good point. Corey's, Carlos says they're going to go home with Corey's Kratos because it looks like he can keep a job. That's true. You get the original Kratos. He goes to work at the auto shop. He's coming home every week. He got fired again because he got in a fight with some asshole who insisted that the Toyota Corolla was an exotic car. It's like, no, it's not. I will, new Kratos will bring home the older, thicker gals, says Zeke. This is what I'm saying. Let's go back to Vera Dork. Elemental says, Jaffe, look, man, Vera has a point. If journalists need to earn back trust from the gamers, then a stream or recorded, that's not her point. If Vera Dark is saying, hey, I have a theory on how some of these journalists that have fallen from grace can get our respect back. Play some games on stream. Show us you've got the bona fides of a gamer. Some of us, not me, but some of us value that. Okay. Then you're absolutely right. But that's not what she's saying. She's saying in order to basically be a recipient of a code, and more importantly, to make sure you're not lying to us, we want some transparency. And my answer on that would be the only thing you need from a journalist to decide, or a critic to decide if you want to follow them, is have they steered you right in the past? Do they recommend things that vibe with you? That's it. Vitaphone, thank you, buddy. Member for 35 months. He says, you play the Vitaphone. I'm going to read your comment, of course, because you paid for it. More importantly, it's a good comment. But my goodness, do people in your life, everything you write is contrarian. And people accuse me of being a contrarian. I'm not. So you may not be either, Vitaphone. But my goodness, here's what he says. He says, you play the same game, Jaffe. When you watched React videos the other day, you should at least cop to engaging in the same malarkey. It's part of the YouTube game. No, it's not. I'm not saying I don't engage with the algorithm, but I went looking for videos from people like Vera Dork, who lo and behold ended up making one, but I was just kind of ahead of the curve by about 8 hours, who were complaining about the female protagonist in Ghost. And I was like, well, I know this is going to be there. Let's go look at these and make fun of them. Yeah. Will I make fun of people that have a problem with a woman being a star in a video game? I will. Because they're make funnable.
I would like to rear up and jackknife my legs and kick you both with my foot bone.
It is very true. Not you, Vitaphone, but everybody else. But that's what I would say. Okay. Okay. Get rid of Metacritic so you actually have to read reviews, says PK. No, I don't want to. I don't want to have to read the reviews. I want to score. I'm not looking for a goddamn college class in what somebody thinks about the newest Call of Duty. Just give me a score. This was solved over 2 decades ago. And what you had was a bunch of people, in my opinion, who wanted, and again, I got no problem with actual video game critique pieces. I think that's wonderful. It is an art form. It is important. It is when it can figure out how to really squeeze the art out of this medium. It is probably going to be the most important art form of this species of ours. I got no problem with that. But most reviews are not read and or written for that. So this was solved 20 years ago when GamePro came on the scene. They says, look, and EGM did it well too. They says, look, it's a fun factor, controls, sound, graphics, and something else, value, whatever. 1 to 5. And then there's a little paragraph at the, here's a consensus. Or EGM had 3 reviewers, they gave it 1 score, and they got a paragraph to explain it. I don't want to fucking read a goddamn, what do they call it in college? Your fucking thing. You do you do a goddamn big paper at the end of your lessons and you, whatever. I don't want to do that. It's not an essay. What's that thing called? No, not a thesis, not an essay. I wrote a script. It was 300 pages, and my student advisor was like, "I'm not reading this. You get an A. It's too long, and I'm too busy." And you wrote dissertation, yes, guy. And he's like, "Here's your A." And my wife or my ex-wife spent all semester just busting her fucking ass on one about. She did a dissertation on Dorian Gray. What's the guy's name? Dandy fella. Picture Dorian Gray. Come on, man. He's a great writer, great critic, whatever. And, she got an A too, but I'm just like, you could just have written a bunch, I was like all work and no play, make Jack a dull boy and just, cut and pasted it in 300 pages and I got an A. So, but she got more out of her education than I did. Carlos has been a member for 37 months. Thank you, buddy. He says, I remember looking at the Metal Gear Solid 5 review on IGN and thinking it was too long. I just want to see if it's a 10. Right. Good God almighty. Right. I don't care what you have to think or say about it. Blue Gamer's been a member for 34 months. Here comes old Papa Jaffe out to pooch you a bunch of dyke. Boom, baby. Come on, there it goes. He says, what do you think about video reviews? What's your preference? I think it's about what you are looking for. If you play a game, and you're like for example, this game I was telling you guys about, which I think is a very interesting game, mouthwashing, right? And I will do a video. Probably won't be a review, but I think if you want to critique about it and you want to dive into it, I think those are delightful and wonderful. But I think when it comes to a review, I just want the data, baby. I want, and that's why I love Metacritic. I'm like, look, what's the aggregate here? What are most people thinking about this? Is it worth my time? And again, I understand. I get it. You can't really determine if it's worth your time unless you play it, and every game's different. Okay, but you know what? Life is short and games are long. And so I'm going to have to take some shortcuts to figuring out what I put into my console or PC hard drive that goes directly into my brain pan. And in that, I'm going to use these shortcuts. And so I appreciate those. Vitaphone says, look, man, rather than hard intersectional feminism is driving developers, inspire devs to choose to replace Asian protagonist lead of a game with the female. What? I don't, okay. I mean, okay, Element, I don't want to argue. I can't do the woke thing anymore, guys. I'm so tired of it. Just don't, play what you want to play and I don't care. And not that you're not an interesting, learned fella, Vitaphone, that has some good points a lot. You do, but I don't care. Don't play them. Review, but I just can't have the conversation anymore. That's what Vera is saying, says Elemental. If you don't trust the journalist, then a full game plu. Oh yeah, if they want to gain your trust back, 100%. That's a great way to do it. But that's not how she framed it. Jaffe says, Dexterous, do you think PS5 Pro will do anything to help sell base models? Could we see a future where Sony partners with NVIDIA to get gamers on GeForce now? And even as those are two different questions. So, by the way, Billy No Mates, I don't want to miss this. He says it just bought Dave the Diver. One of the best games the last 5 fucking years, man. Great game. So PS5 Pro, I don't know. I mean, my guess, look, I still feel that they're going to drop the price of PS5 base this Christmas and bundle it with Astrobot, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Everybody tells me I'm wrong. But I definitely think that the Pro is great for what it is. If you don't have one, you should go get one if you don't have a PS5, but I think it's very expensive. IGN just put a article up saying, hey, we built a PC that is the equivalent of a PS5 Pro. It cost us about $120 more. I think they came out to like $860 or something like that. But in essence, though, they said this will give you that. you're going to miss a couple of things and they're going to get a couple of things and vice versa, because it's not going to be 1-to-1. But it's close enough, and if you're willing to go to the dark side of the PC gaming, you know what I feel. But it's what they said too. It's like you can do more on it than just game. The interface is better to do more on it than just game. And you can play a lot more games. You can eventually play pretty much most or all of Sony's games, Xbox's games for cheaper. You can't, So my answer to that would be that, I don't know if gamers are going to reject the Pro or not. And if they do, certainly, and they still want a console, they'll go with the base model. But I also think, I don't know if they're going to partner with Nvidia, but I definitely think Sony is moving towards having a online presence that streams and is their base location on the internet, like Xbox has, like a lot of these other companies have, which is why they're so stringent on going, if you want to play our games on PC, you need to sign up for a PSN account. I think Portal is aiming towards that, and then that's the day I won't buy a Portal. I don't really care to stream Sony games, unless they start putting out a lot more. But I'm gonna buy Wolverine and stuff. I don't really, But the point is, though, is that yes, they will be going in that direction. Whether they do it with Nvidia, I think they're equipped to try to do it on their own because of they already have streaming. It's not as good yet, but in fact, somebody in the chat says, where did this guy go? He said. Luke says, I just tried GeForce Now for the first time last week. I think just in the last week contradict each other, but I understand your point, sir. He says, color me impressed. I might just use that instead of getting a new PC. I'm telling you, man, if you're in the right neck of the woods and you have a decent enough internet, GeForce Now is something to look into. Spasbo says, PS5 digital version costs more now than at launch. I don't think they're going to go down in price anytime soon. Most people say that. I am odd man out suggesting they are. And maybe it's just because I'm used to, like a lot of you are, seeing the drop in price after it's been out for 5 fucking years. Could we fucking please drop it's still the same goddamn price, more in some places. But we'll see. You, again, Spaz, most people agree with you. I mean, most people have said, Jaffe, you're out of your mind. Why would they drop the price? You're probably right. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. Do you think the Ghost of Yoti main character will be a lesbian? My wife wants to see more badass straight women in games. I would too. I mean, I absolutely think that there is value in the pendulum swing back towards the center. I don't like that progress takes as long as it does. And I'm not a big enough student of history to be able to talk about, even in those cases in moments in time with other marginalized groups where it seems real progress gets made. And it seems like that was because there was such a violent fight for it. That's still built on years and decades of little tiny battles before that big battle, right? So I don't know the way progress actually gets made. Is it probably a blend between big battles and small fits and starts? But I do think, at least in this case, as progressive as I am, which is quite progressive, I think there has been an overreaction from companies, not because their hearts are in the wrong place, but because end of the day, I think a lot of people just have to be eased into accepting things that aren't wrong, aren't bad. They just have been told they're bad and wrong because of politics. And I know that sounds condescending. It's like, Jaffe, you're just basically saying you're right, they're wrong, and they'll come around when they get smarter. It's not that when they get smarter, I just think that's, I'm sure there are things I have biases towards that aren't really things worth having biases towards. Maybe religion's one of them, right? I'm open-minded enough to go, like, I currently dislike religion. I think it's bad. But I'm open-minded enough to know that a lot of people love their religion and maybe there's something I'm missing. But you're not going to convince me of that by shoving it in my face and telling me I'm an idiot for not embracing Yahweh. It's going to take a little more nuance. And I think the left is seeing that when it comes to things like this, which is a long, obnoxious way to answer, Corey, your wife's question, or your wife's desire of, yes, I would like to see more hot women in video games that like the dick. That would be nice. Okay. Well, I don't agree with that, Cosmic. White Wolf says, how am I? I'm good, sir. How are you? Jaffe says, between Star Wars and Marvel, which do you think have better games the next 5 years? I think Marvel. I think Marvel, again, my game of the year right now is Star Wars Outlaws, but I'm a rare bird when it comes to that particular title. So I wouldn't expect, most people to agree, and that's fine, but I think it's delightful. But what I will say though is, Marvel is really one of the best fucking consistent game publishers out there. If you just look at success and quality, if you look at the Insomniac stuff, if you look at Hearthstone, their mobile stuff, even though I don't play it, is doing very, very, very well. They have Marvel Rivals that is coming out. The betas went great, and it looks like it's going to just continue to be more and more successful. They're giving all of their characters away. You don't have to pay for them. So I don't know how they're monetizing it because it's free to play. It's everything that people said they wanted Concord to be, but it's also with the most beloved, some of the most beloved franchise characters on the planet. So, my guess is Marvel, because they have this structure. Marvel has a games, they're kind of second party, right? They have a games division. At the moment, as far as I know, they don't produce games, but they externally produce games. And they've got real, genuine, good game producers on those staffs. And so, yeah, I think Marvel's in a better position to dominate games. And honestly, Star Wars right now is in a really bad place. It's I never thought I would see it, but here we are, and I'm sure it can come back. And look, I don't know if you guys, a lot of people were kind of shitting on Marvel MCU, and then they kind of pulled back and they said, you know what? You guys aren't wrong. We're making too many. Quality's falling, blah, blah, blah. And so they pulled back, and Fantastic Four is starting to look like they're taking their time. The shots coming out from that are looking pretty cool, pretty interesting. And then you're also getting Agatha All Along, which I know is not as dark and adult as The Penguin, which is excellent if you haven't watched The Penguin on the Max. But Agatha All Along is also absolutely excellent. So I think they're learning from the just vulgar volume of content they were putting out. And so we'll see. I think Star Wars needs to go through that because as a guy who grew up and loved the Star Wars and still loves it, it's too much. It's too much. And if it was all great, even if it was all brilliant, it still would be too much. I don't have the time. Vitaphone says, even though we have little information about Captain America, Black Panther, are you basically saying it will hold your imagination, or I'm not sure what you're saying. What I'll say on that though is it's really, I was really bummed. So they reached out to me, that company, and I think, I'm always checking the emails and doing triple checks because I want to make sure people aren't scamming me, because sometimes they try. But they reached out and said, hey, Jaffe, we'd like you to cover this and this, that, and the other. And we talked for like a week going back and forth. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. I can't wait to play this game. And I assume, I don't assume I'm a well-loved person among certain developers because they have the wrong idea about me. But suddenly they just went cold. And they stopped, my guess is somebody said, oh, that's Jaffe, we don't want to associate with him, which is fine. I mean, I say all kinds of vulgar things like Blumpkins and things. Okay. What would be the Star Wars thing that would bring you back to loving Star Wars, says Luke? Just a great movie, a great series, a great, I want to be like, I'm watching Agatha all along, right? I mean, think about this for a brief moment. I tweeted this the other night after watching both of these, Penguin and Agatha. Agatha all along is barely a D- character in Marvel. Right? I mean, every now and then she'd pop up in Avengers, like the comic, and that's it. And she's an old woman. It's like, really? You're going to make a series about Agatha? And Penguin was always just kind of a jokey, make fun of character. Well, Agatha all along, I mean, Penguin's great. We all know Penguin's great. Agatha all along, though, is genuinely fucking cool, man. And so when you say, what would it take to bring me back to Star Wars? It would be something where I'm really surprised by, oh shit, they made this movie and it's surprisingly really interesting. And it's not, resting on its legacy of being Star Wars. It stands on its own. Agatha all along, because I love horror, is all about witches and the Salem witch trials and the kind of weird arcane lore and abilities that witches have. And it's like, oh, I had no idea that's where this show was going. And I'm fucking in, man. I'm fucking in. So it would take something like that when it comes to Star Wars. And I will tell you, with Star Wars Outlaws, that particular game, I know a lot of people want to shit all over the character, Kay Vass or Vess or whatever her name is, for whatever reasons, but she's great. I mean, she's well written, she's well performed, she's likable. She is, not that it does or doesn't matter to you, I don't know, but I like that she's cute. She's not like Stellar Blade or whatever her name is, Eve, but she is absolutely very cute, very girl next door. She's spunky, she's cool, man. People got the wrong idea about her. I dig her. Blue Gamer says, yeah, I like KVS. The game is top 2 game of the year. I agree. 100%. 100 fucking percent, baby. What's Bukaki saying? Oh, he's mocking the Star War. Fine, whatever. Whatever, you son of a bitch. All right. I want to see, what did Bulbo just type? I want to see this real quick, and then we'll move on to some other game stuff real quick. Bulbo said, I was asking, he says, Jaffe, even if you see a miracle, I don't think you will become religious because you buried that side of your life. You don't know that about me. First off, if I see a miracle, my brain will say, I want to understand it, but maybe there's an explanation, even if the explanation is we're in a simulation that a God is created. I don't know. But no, I'm but I'm not just going to believe something. No, I mean, that's not about not being religious. That's just being a fucking critical thinker, man. Okay, let us move on. Let's talk about this Starfield, Shattered Space. So this is interesting to me because there was absolutely there were no drops for this. There were no reviews. Now, Bethesda is known for this, right? Bethesda does this sometimes. In fact, they do it a lot, right? If you go back and you look at Doom 2016, Wolfenstein New Order, Evil Within, Prey, all Bethesda games. None of these came out with reviews until the day the game, there was an embargo until the day the game came out. In the case of Starfield, Shattered, whatever it's called, Dimensions or what have you, which is out now, that particular game didn't send code and embargo the reviews. They didn't even send code. And so I'm understanding a lot of people are saying it's not great. Now, I loved and remain a big fan of Starfield. I was playing it recently in prep for the expansion. And I will be playing it for about 3 or 4 hours later today, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm so when I hear people are saying they don't like it. Like if you go over to Steam right now and look at the reviews, let me go to Steam and let me show you what it's sitting at right now. People are kind of like, eh. They're saying it's too similar to the core game. Not much happens. It's boring. It's dry. Starfield Shattered Space is what it's called. It cost you $30 unless you got the version on Game Pass, which I did. Okay, so it's sitting at mixed. It's sitting at mixed, right? Played for 3 hours. I'm not captivated. The way I'm seeing it, it's the worst $100 I ever spent. So this guy didn't like Starfield to begin with. This guy says, I pre-ordered Trashfield. Get access to this because I spent $100. I'm never going to play this. This feels almost like no effort was made. So, I mean, the problem is it's hard to know, are these people reviewing it out of a place of experience? This guy has never played it. And this is a real problem I have with Steam. It's not that even though I would like to say that Steam should not even allow you to review a game until you've played a percentage of it, but let's assume they're not going to go that far. Then they should definitely say, look, if you haven't played a percentage of this game, you can't contribute to the mixed or the negative or whatever. It's very similar to what we saw. I mean, look at this guy. Let's see how many of these people who gave it a thumbs down. This guy pre-ordered this game and gave it a thumbs down. Now I could be wrong. You guys educate me on this, but I'm assuming these go into the pot with Steam's overall reviews, correct? And that's a problem. 0. He's played it for 0 hours. And isn't that a problem with what Vera Dark was saying? No. The issue is not that someone can go out and lie. The issue is that if you are going to, because what that lets me do is go, oh, this guy Forrest, I'm going to choose now to no longer trust this guy because he just says shit and it's clear he doesn't play it. Okay? Whether or not I have this as evidence of that or whether or not I just can read his review is irrelevant. But my issue is with Steam or Rotten Tomatoes or Meta, who is going Metacritic, who is going, we're going to aggregate this without any kind of checking to make sure that this is valid. 7 says if you don't buy it, you can't review it. I don't care if you've bought it. I want you to play it. Right? That's what matters. This person wrote good art direction, comedically poor ending. 0 hours. What? I don't understand. And you're right. Somebody in the chat says, where did it go? K-Nub says most people don't even play the games. They just parrot what their favorite streamers like Asmongold say. I mean, that's a real fucking, it's not a problem that necessarily has to be solved, can be solved, should be solved, but it's annoying because I see it get the best of really genuinely good games, in my opinion, like Star Wars Outlaws. Or I see it, even Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is not a great game. And it's not a game that should have been $60 or $70 or however much it cost. But it's not the piece of shit that everybody is saying it is. And people are just able to go around and say shit, and they should be. It's a free-ish country. But it's really unfortunate that it takes on truth to people without any evidence. It's ridiculous. So my point is, this is really disappointing from Valve. I thought Valve of all companies would have solved this, but maybe they have. Maybe they're like, Jaffe, you don't understand. This mixed is bait. You have to have played the game for at least 20% of its runtime or whatever. Then I would go, oh, okay, good. That's good to hear. But I don't know. Right. Milkmaster says, it's especially important when you consider many of these streamers, influencers have an audience that's 85% kids. Yeah. Right. Okay. It is what it is. Let's talk about what else is. Let's talk about the games that are the most successful right now on PlayStation. Are you curious? I'm curious. Let me get Bulbo's comment first, because this is a really big problem, in my opinion, with Starfield. And I've said this before, but it bears repeating. He says, Jaffe, I find that Starfield is very slow, like it kills time when you play it. Just from traveling to a socializing to anything, it's very, very slow burn. The problem with that game, as much as I love it, and I love it very much, is they gave people way too much freedom at the beginning. And in giving them that much freedom, you could easily veer off some of the core handcrafted paths. And at that point, it's luck of the draw. What planet you go to, what weapons you happen to have acquired, whether or not you're going to have a compelling time or not. But if you don't have to follow it. I didn't follow the main path religiously, but I did go 80% of my time was following that initial story. And I allowed myself the freedom to kind of go, ooh, that looks neat, but I would always come back. And then I think it was actually quite well paced. But it's easy to kind of fall out of that cadence with the game. Zack says, I'm really surprised you liked it so much. It does so much to take the controller away from you. I think I would have to say that particular game, Starfield, benefits from the same thing that Star Wars Outlaws does, which is I don't know if I can judge it, like intellectually I can judge it through no conscious lens that I'm aware of anyway. But emotionally, I judge it as a kid of the 70s and the early 80s in terms of coming up with Star Wars and 2001: A Space Odyssey and these great science fiction, novels and comics and things like that really fired the imagination. I don't think younger generations have that romance with outer space and romance with space exploration and things like that. And in that, I understand, or with Star Wars specifically as it relates to Outlaws. So in that, I get why that could have been a big thing that pulled me through. Whereas somebody who's just like, yeah, I like fantasy, I don't really get the sci-fi thing. Yeah, I totally get it. Cosmic Bandito wants me to know it's very Trumpian to rename content creators with dumb nicknames because you disagree with them. Vera Dork. Well, I didn't come up with Vera Dork. Somebody in the chat did, but I like it. And it is very Trumpian. But look, I'll tell you, there was a time, look, I'm a kid of the 80s. I was there when Trump was, before you knew about him with The Apprentice. I was there when he was doing Art of the Deal and, hosting or funding Miss Universe pageants and shit. So I'm not going to deny the guy's not a good entertainment but it doesn't make him a good president. And like Mutimo says, he's not the first guy to come up with nicknames, but all right. And I agree, Soul Mike, we all need more Carl Sagan in our lives. You goddamn right. Am I going to read little Jason Schreier's new book? Probably, but just because it'll be good information for, the stream, not because I don't particularly like Jason Schreier as a human. He said some things that really pissed me off. And then he said he was on this Spawn something the other day. I'm not being disrespectful to that show. I just don't know it. I think the guy calls himself Spawncast or something. But he was on that, and he was he was kind of like basically kind of mocking Colin's Spawn Wave. Thank you, Carlos. He was kind of mocking Colin Moriarty's take on $400 million for Concord. He's like, he only got one source. I would never go to print with one source, And Colin will tell you, first off, he's like, I'm not a journalist anymore. But more importantly, like Colin has said on his shows, he's like, I don't need clicks. He's got the most successful video game channel on Patreon. He's not out there going, I need to compete with these guys who are looking to break some news. And he's broken tons of news when he was a proper journalist. So I don't think the guy's just going to go out there and throw out some horseshit lie. And also I know that the person he talked to made two things clear. First off, the person he talked to is, in Colin's words, and I understand, he's like, Jaffe, you know who this person is. I'm like, yeah. He says he's unassailable in terms of the data. But the other thing he made clear was, he said, it's not that Sony wrote a check for $400 million. He said, whatever that team was working on as the game that became Concord, $200 million was spent by the original publisher. And then another $200 million was spent to get the game to launch. Now, whether that included marketing, I don't know. Whether or not Sony had to pay a percentage of that or all of that to the original publisher in order to buy these guys, I don't know. Or to get the code I have no idea what their deal was. But Colin's not, some grifter in the actual term. He's not going to lie to make money. He doesn't have that reputation at all. Not that Schreier does either. To give Schreier credit, he seems to care ish about being a good journalist, maybe even more than ish. But I do find him a real dislikable human being. I really, really do, is what I would say. Top 10 games on PlayStation. Would you like to know them? Let's start with number 10. I like this. I like that they do this. If you go over to the PSN store, you can kind of see what people are buying. And this is what they're buying. Now, Xbox puts up what they're playing, but Sony tells you what people are spending ducats on. Mortal Kombat 1. That is good to see. It is back in the top 10. And I want to re-download this. I know they've launched some new characters. I know Ed Boon came out recently and said, we have tons of plans to keep working on this. I liked it when I played it. But it was one of those games that I was just kind of like, oh, I know you can't see because I'm building up I don't want you to just know what they are. It's kind of the fun. You got to wait and see. I'll show you a picture in a minute. Unless you just literally, you can't see anything, in which case you're masturbating too much. But Mortal Kombat 1, I want to re-download. I think I stopped because I was just sort of like, I was like, I'm never going to get good enough at this to really go online and even compete with people on Gabbin' and Games game nights, right? I mean, there's no way. But it's really good though, and it's really well done, and so I'm going to re-download it. Space Marine 2 hanging in there at number 9. That's nice to see. Pal World, which just launched for the first time on PlayStation, is number 8. Madden 25 is surprisingly low, coming in at number 7. Not even coming in, but at number 7. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, some weeb bullshit, I suppose, is at number 6. Number 5 is the great Mighty Mighty College Football. I'm glad to see that back. It's a really good game. 4 is the great Call of Duty, which is doing their multiplayer Halloween, zombies, all that stuff. I'm very, very glad. I got to tell you guys something. I'm very, very glad that I figured this out. So I go to my PlayStation where I have $750 worth of I did that just for you, Morgan. Morgan says, weeb, it's fucking Dragon Ball, you dork. Shut up, idiot. Yeah. I got 700. I'm not really hating on Dragon Ball. I've never watched the fucking Dragon Ball. I'm just fucking with you guys. But so anyway, look, I go over there to the PlayStation. I have $750 inadvertently in PlayStation in Call of Duty coins, not by my own wanting them. It was a big fucking clusterfuck, but they didn't take them away. But I realize since I'm playing on PC now, you can't transfer tokens, but what you buy on one will transfer. So I picked up the Battle Pass. I got the Michael Myers skin. I'm waiting for the Art the Clown skin. There's some good shit this holiday season. And then coming up in a couple of weeks, we got the new Call of Duty, which looks, and the beta was delightful, Black Ops 6. And campaign looks great too. Fortnite is number 3. FC 25, which is the EA football game, soccer game, whatever, is number 2. And number 1 is 2K25, which I hear some people love, some people hate. But I've been wanting to play. A basketball game, so I might pick it up. Yes, it is the spooky season. There's a lot to play, Awesome Tatum. Like I said, I was playing mouthwashing. I will be. JoJo D sent me, and I haven't watched it yet. I just saw it running. He did some weird fucking AI thing. Let me see if I can show it to you real quick. Really cool. I need to watch it, but he keeps wanting me to do this FMV game called The Complex. So I think we'll definitely be doing some Halloween stuff as we always do. But let me see. See, I always know him by JoJo D, so he's hard to find. But he does a lot of AI stuff lately. He's into the AI, right? So I wish I could find it. I don't know where it is. He sent me a thing and said, Jaffe, you got to look at this. Hang on. Is it replies, maybe? Mentions? I don't fucking know. I don't know. Come on, where is it? I may have to show it on the next one. I'm not sure where he put it, but it was really creepy. It was really, really cool. Silent Hill 2, yeah, of course. Well, again, the thing I don't understand about the Silent Hill situation, honestly, is, and we talked about this in a previous show, but I don't understand how Silent Hill 2 is a PlayStation exclusive, console exclusive, and Until Dawn is a console exclusive, and they're both coming out on the same week, which makes no sense to me because they're drinking from the same audience well. And then on top of that, you've got the embargo lifting on Silent Hill 2 on the 4th. The early access of that game comes out on the 5th. And I think Until Dawn comes out on the 5th. So I don't know if Konami's trying to fuck them and say, look, we want people to wait for the embargo to lift the day before you can get Until Dawn to show you which game you should buy. Doomslayer says, I don't think anyone really cares about a useless Until Dawn remake. I mean, I'm kind of with you on that. But I'm wondering, Until Dawn remake... I'm going to type in review embargo. I want to see if this is, yeah, I don't think anyone has said when you're going to get the review on that. It is weird though. It is really, really weird that they're putting them out so close. I get that they're Halloween games, but you know what? You know, horror sells all year round. Don't be morons and think I mean, maybe they have the stats, but more and more of these companies surprise me with how little research they actually seem to do, where it's like, do you really think you're making more money because you release it in October than if you release it in a month or a section of a month that isn't so crowded with similar games? I don't get that. Gravy says Until Dawn's going to tank in sales. I could see it. I could see that actually happening. They could have remade anything, says Milkmaster, and they chose Until Dawn. I liked Until Dawn, but I'm not sure what the logic on that was. Maybe it's just easier to play than Bloodborne, that's for sure. David Muir says, is there any validity to Sweet Tooth voice actor J.S. Gilbert's claim of a TM trilogy refresh next year? There may be. I haven't heard anything about it, but, you know. Okay. But yes, I am very much looking forward though to that game, to Silent Hill 2. Well, yes, that is correct. I am very much looking forward to Silent Hill 2, but more because I'm curious and I've never played the first one, and the recent stuff they've shown looks good. But I don't have a nostalgia attachment to that particular series, so in that I'm just kind of like, but I do want to see it. So, but there's really good indie horror also happening. And then, as somebody said, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I don't think really counts as horror. It's more kind of, I mean, it is, but that's coming out, which I'm stunned somebody made that game, and I'm very, very excited to play that. Old Gimpy says it might just be an indie dev thing, but are 2 horror games spike in October? Yeah, I mean, I think with indie games, it makes a lot more sense. I'm trying to figure out, Winnie's Hole is a horror game. It is. This is true. I'm trying to figure out on Steam, like right now, I can't even name the number of horror games that are coming out this month on Steam, but I'm trying to play as many. I played one I'm going to talk about on the next Brain on Games, that is, let me bring it up because Bukaki's going, name 5 good indie horror games that came out this month or in general. Let's get specific, bitch. Let's get specific, biatch. Yeah. Can't tell me what to do. I played this game, Be Crowned, which is a horror game. And it's actually really good, but my God, they fuck up the opening of that demo. It's just the demo. And it's like, Jesus, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing with this? Why would you do your demo that way? But it's out. And I do recommend it if you're willing to push past the first 10 minutes of just stupidity, utter stupidity. But anyway, that's what's going on in the horror. Let's see what else I want to talk about. Oh my God, look at this. I'll save that for tomorrow. I'm saving that. Would you guys like to know this? Games Radar. I like List. We all like List. Oh, Hollow Body came out. It was great. I finished it. Is it great? It's very interesting, and there's some really well-made aspects to it. I got to be honest with you, Sky. I finished this game. If you don't know what he's talking about, this is Hollow Body. I didn't understand what the fuck that game was about. In the end, I enjoyed it. I finished it. But I did not fully understand what in the hell this game is about. This is a clearly love letter to Silent Hill 2. And you play this woman who goes to find this missing woman. I think it might be her lover. I don't know. But it's set in cyberpunk times. But other than the interface, it looks nothing like cyberpunk. And then it's got these 3 endings that are like, wait, what the fuck is this fucking thing about? I don't know, but it is interesting. It's well made. It's well made, but I don't, I think Mouthwashing is more interesting, which also just came out. And people are saying that game in UFO 50, there's a kind of a point and click Maniac Mansion. I have UFO 50, but I haven't played much of it. And I'm going to talk about that later, but it's, it's the real challenge with that particular game is, it's just like there's so many games. Night Manor is what it's called, right? In UFO 50. The challenge is there's so many fucking games that in UFO 50 that I'm just kind of overwhelmed whenever I look at it. I just kind of feel like I don't know what to pick. I don't know what to do. And it almost, it kind of keeps me away from it. But this is Night Manor. And apparently people are saying it's just absolutely excellent. It almost feels like these guys should just sort of go, you know what, if this thing doesn't sell, let's just kind of break these up and sell them piecemeal. Let's sell the 10 best or something. Because it's clear it's great, and it's clear it deserves an audience. And it's also clear that the way they have presented it is part of the challenge. Not the challenge, reading Bukaki's thing, is part of the art, is part of the product. And I get that. But I haven't quite figured out the mindset to be in to play this game. It may just be because there's so much to play that, I don't know. I mean, I understand you should probably go in and just say, look, pick one game, focus on it until you get bored. But this is not a game for ADD people like me. It's too much to look at. It's too much to get excited by, All right, hang on a second. I'm looking at some of these things. Okay. Look at this. Games Radar wants you to know that they have compiled the 10 best Resident Evil games of all time. And I'm curious. I'm curious about this. Because, you know, I want to go back. Like, I finished Resident Evil 2 Remake, which I loved, but I finished it with Claire. Was it Claire in that game? She's my girlfriend. But I want to go back and play it with the dude now. Like, I'm kind of getting my Resident Evil vibe back on, you know, feeling it, wanting to play more of it. So I wanted to take a look at this and see what their top 10 order. Let me see if they go in descending order. Otherwise, we're going to go the other direction. All right, they're going in descending order. Number 10, I have never played this one. I have never played number 10. Resident Evil Revelations number 2, they say. It felt like something of a homecoming, particularly after the cinematic action the series had become enamored with after Resident Evil 5. Co-op play and initially released as an episodic, the game was able to take over the shoulder gunplay and ground it once again in a world of survival and horror. Okay, well, it should go on my list. I should play it. I know you can't see gaming philosophy. I'm keeping it from you because I want to. It's surprise, baby. It's surprise. Beats Games Life. Thank you, buddy. The super chat. He says, "Hey, you're doing a good job, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man." Number 9, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original, which is in fact, I'll just show you guys. You can look at it, but I'm not going to scroll too far ahead. This is the one that was, not the remake, basically, right? And I've never played this one either. Never played Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I played the remake. I finished the remake. I enjoyed the shit out of it. But that's it. 7-6, I want to get to that. Let me get through this story first, but I want to speak to what you're saying. So if I forget, I'm like, 7-6, what were you talking about? Remind me, if you don't mind. Resident Evil Village is number 8. You know, okay. I mean, Resident Evil is one of the few franchises I finish. I finish every Metal Gear I sit down to play, and I finish, I believe, I mean, if you can say finish without the other character, every Resident Evil I sit down to play. I've played this, I finished it, I enjoyed it, but and I loved how every chunk, every main act was like a different horror trope. I thought that was really cool. But I would agree with this. It didn't stick in my brain as much as I had assumed it should or wanted it to. Nugget says, I like Village in 7. 7 I liked a lot more than this one, but let's see where they put that. But 8 is Resident Evil Village. 7 is Code Veronica. I misspoke. I haven't finished this one. I was playing this on Game Pass. I got bored. Not because it was bad. I was just busy. But they're saying Code Veronica, which is something a lot of people want to be remade in the remake style they do, is what a lot of people want Code Veronica to be. But interesting. Brad says, I've never been able to finish a Resident Evil game. Interesting. The biggest problem I have with Resident Evil games is they always end, and I get it because they're made in Japan. And I guess in Japan, like, modern day laboratories are scary. Like, it's tropey for them, just like haunted houses are for us. But they always end in some kind of industrial warehouse, storage facility, factory. And it totally takes all those great horror tropes and settings. And I kind of feel like I'm playing in like a sterile hospital or something. It's very strange. Very strange why they end it that way. But Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil Code Veronica is number 7. Number 6, Resident Evil 4 Remake. Loved this. Thought it would be higher. Maybe they'll put the original higher just because it broke some ground. I don't know. But I did play this. I finished this. Thought it was great. They say Capcom in this remake was not only able to preserve the spirit of the original, but successfully modernized elements of the design, updating the plot, artistic direction, and structure to make it more palpable to players joining in 2023. Agree. Great game. Fucking great game. Yeah, so Sky says, I don't agree, Jaffe. They're still scary environments to me. Right. I mean, again, I don't know what culture you're from. Maybe you're American. I have no idea. But it seems in Japan, that's, kind of like if you were to make a list as an American of horror haunted house settings, you would have traditional haunted house. You would have like mental asylum. You would have kind of like witches and like these old towns, like Salem towns and shit. But I don't think you would put like just sort of, basically the Apple computer office building where they're doing some weird experiments. It feels antithetical to horror, basically. But that's me. That's me. Hospitals are creepy. I agree. Hospitals are creepy. But hospitals that are just sterile, don't feel creepy. I think it's when things start to go really weird in the decor and shit. But that, again, whatever. It's how I feel about Resident Evil is what it is. 5 is Resident Evil 2 Remake. Delightful. I'm surprised RE3 Remake should not be higher than RE2 Remake. So the fact that it's not here means it's probably not on the list. I agree with that, Bukaki. If we're going to fight the war on terror, a good place to start would be the nation's haunted houses. You goddamn right. Resident Evil 2 Remake, number 5. I loved this game. It was absolutely fucking excellent. Excellent. Number 5. Number 4, RE7 Biohazard. I would swap these, but I loved Resident Evil 7. This is the one with the hillbillies and the weird fucking house and, go make us a family, one what we can be proud of. Now that, of course, is not from Resident Evil. That's from the X-Files episode that I believe has been banned and hard to find, about the hillbilly family that they kept their inbred family under the floor and they wheeled them out when they wanted to fuck them. That was weird. But Biohazard 7, yeah, that was a great one. Now, I played this whole thing. I played in VR, PSVR 1. Good stuff. But I would swap 4 and I would swap their 5 and 4. I would put 4 at least RE2 Remake and 4 whatever is what it is. 3 RE2 the original. That's nostalgia goggles, baby. That's nostalgia goggles. Yeah, they kept the mom under the bed in that X-Files. That's right. All right, number 3 is RE2. What's the famous story on this? Resident Evil, Devil May Cry started as Resident Evil 2, isn't that right? Like they were doing it and they found the bug of popping people up and they were like, oh, let's make a different game. I believe that's the lore. Am I drinking Coke and coffee? Yes, Bulbo. Number 2, the original RE4. Come on. These are nostalgia choices at this point. Come on. This, give it a nod, but I mean, come on. RE4. I mean, if we're okay, so if we are ranking them as influential, then sure. If we are ranking them as the best, and I don't know how they're quantifying this, if they're ranking them as the best that you can play today, then I think this is a bad list. But if you're saying what was the most influential, sure. RE2, RE4, and then I imagine the first one is going to be at the top, right? So number 1 has got to be the original or the remake, right? Which is basically the same game. It just looks better. Okay, there we go. So there's where we are. I agree with a lot of these if you are talking about influence. And I have not finished the remake, although I assume it's the same game, just better graphics, what I remember. But for sure. Old Gimpy says, Jaffe, if I send you a key for our Resident Evil Lampoon game, would you play it? I'll play it, yeah. I may not stream it if I don't like it, but I'd love to see what you're talking about. What's it called? Let's look it up right now. RE2 remake is greater than RE1 remake. I agree. But again, as a modern game, it is. But it's really a question of sort of, what you're talking about, what you're using for that definition. Okay, it's called Prototype Mansion Use No Cover. That's the name of your game? Okay. Let's watch a trailer. Our very own Old Gimpy and his team have made this. Let's see. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it looks like Resident Evil. I mean, is it a parody game? Oh, it looks fun. Yeah, send me a code. I'm curious now. I know there's a better trailer you're saying, but, that's 7 years old? Jesus. I've never heard of this game. You guys do great marketing. Oh, come on now, Jaffe. Be nice. I mean, I am. Yeah. Send me a code. I would love to take a look at it, man. Congrats on getting the games out. RE Remake is just the best of Resident Evil game, period. That's what perfected. Yeah, but you're talking about nostalgia. You're saying, oh, it perfected the formula. I agree. But I don't think it's a better game than RE2 Remake, but I could be wrong. Subjective, whatever. Look at this, though. Here's something we can all agree with. Final Fight, done by AI. Come on, man. I'd watch this movie and so would you. I don't give a fuck if you want to pretend you wouldn't, because you would and you will. Here we go. I'll start without my head in the way.
Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
Oh, shut up. Look at Marmer. Says, oh, please stop showing these monstrous AI trailer things. No, they're awesome. They're fucking awesome. They're cool. Look how cool that is. What are you talking about? That's awesome, man. AI is totally the future. Of course it is. People know what they're talking about. It looks terrible. It looks fun. What looks terrible about it? Shut up. Shut up. Okay. They're lazy. Oh, shut up. I've decided. Most people that complain about AI art are the people who want to be artists themselves and they think they're having their jobs taken away. That's the goddamn truth. Because any real artist that's working in the industry will tell you this is just a tool, just like Photoshop, just like After Effects, just like Blender. It's just another way to express human imagination and ingenuity. Okay, now you have a pot to piss in if you want to say that you don't particularly like this individual style of art. That's fair. But the idea that you're going to look at this and just go, any AI art is bad. That's dumb. Blender's an old, whatever, bro. I don't give a shit. I don't do art. Whatever. What do you use now for Maya? Whatever you're using for creating the shit. 3D objects. It doesn't matter, Doomslayer. Doomslayer says, yeah, but this video wasn't using AI as After Effects. It was made from the get-go by AI. No, it wasn't. It was made from the get-go by somebody who said, you know what I want to do? I want to make a trailer that looks like a 1990s action film, but based on Final Fight. That's where it started. And then they said, what tools do I have available to me to actually express this idea in my brain pan? And they said, oh, I have this AI stuff. And then they used it. Now I'll give you that it sucks if these guys, are using AI where resources have trained it and the people who created the resources have not been compensated. But that's a legal issue that needs to be resolved and hopefully will be resolved, in courts, because that's no bueno. But that's a different conversation. Blackjack says, it's lazy. No, it's not lazy. Okay, if that's lazy, then so is sharpening your pencil with anything but a knife. If you use a goddamn electric pencil sharpener, you're not a real artist, you're lazy. Because, yeah, you could draw with it faster, but nope, a real artist uses a knife on his pocket knife to whittle that lead out of the goddamn pencil. Come on. What are you talking about? Jonas says it's akin to the seamstresses that cried about their jobs during the Industrial Revolution. We don't hold back tech advancements because some jobs are lost. No. But what I don't like, though, is just kind of own that. But what I don't like is when people try to frame it like, oh, the art is lesser. Is it really? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's weird to me that some tools are acceptable that let you express yourself faster or better and other tools aren't. It's actually kind of like spoken by someone who's never actually created art, is what I would fucking say. Is what I would say. 7-6, what did I tell you to remind me about? You were saying something I wanted to comment on. Actually, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, Arathizel says the machine made the choices based on training data. If the artist doesn't have the granularity to influence the output, it's not a tool. 100%. 100%. But that's getting better. Like there's no artist, there's nobody that works in 3D, from my stupid thumbnails to people that actually create something more elaborate, that don't want to be able to go in and say, I want this exact same character, but you see how he's balding like this? I need him to be balding here and here, and everything else stays the same. That level of granularity of influence is necessary and desired, but give us a break. Where were we? We were Will Smith eating pasta, nightmare fuel 2 years ago. Now we're here. Let it cook. Let it cook. But I don't remember. What did 6 want to talk about? Or he mentioned, I don't know either, 6. It was something about Assassins. I don't fucking know. What else we got, boys? I think it will be cool when an artist's style shows through the AI art. To me, the AI stuff looks the same. Yeah, I mean, again, there is work to be done. But, give it, Jesus Christ, man. People just want to bitch about everything. Yeah, and there'll always be a market milk for people who don't want AI stuff. That's great. Excuse me. That's great. But I don't think that's most people. Most people don't give a shit. Most people look at this stuff like entertainment. They want to be entertained. They want their day-to-day lives they want a breather. That's what they want. Give them what they want, folks. Give the people what they want, and they show up in droves. Somebody said that once. I don't know who it was. Vitaphone, okay, fine, but that's a different issue. Vitaphone, you're always. Do you like anything, Vitaphone? Seriously, let's have a little therapy session. What has pleased you this week? He says most people creating with the tool, creating in quotes, will never go beyond creating lazy spam. If they had it in them to begin with, they would have already been artists. That's a lot of people, sure. But there's also a gatekeeping aspect to that I think is a real problem, right? I mean, the fact that, like, I'll give you a great example. Look at this is a game I played recently, and I stopped playing. The fuck was this thing? I don't even remember. Anomalous? I spell anomalous. It ain't like that. Anomalous? Game? Okay, I played this recently. One-man band made this, right? The guy clearly learned how to program, learned how to kit back. I don't know where he got his shit from. He made this game, though. Maybe it's one man. Certainly a small group, if not one person. And there's not a thing in the world wrong with it, okay? Except the fact that it's generic and boring and you've played it 1,000 times. It is well made. It controls great. It does everything right, except it lacks imagination, okay? Here's what I'll tell you. The idea that the same people that are qualified or have the brains, I want you to think about how obnoxious gatekeeping this is. The same people that are qualified and have the brains to learn the programming, to learn these sorts of tools, to jump through the hoops of creation, don't often tend to be the same people that are your out-of-the-box, really blisteringly creative thinkers. Okay. And so the more tools that come along that allow people to swim in the same waters as people that before were only qualified to swim in them because you had to be a certain type of person, the more interesting shit that we will get. Okay. So this idea that, oh, if you wanted to be an artist, you would have learned. Well, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe you really have something to offer the world of video games or book writing or movie making, but there's something about your makeup that also makes it that the obstacles that have been put in place are obstacles that you don't particularly have the DNA to overcome. So that means that person isn't worthy of expressing their vision? No, I'm sorry, that's horseshit. That's horseshit. Hello, Tuxmon. Anyway, so but again, it's a well-made game. Well-made game. It's just I couldn't finish it. It got boring. But I don't guarantee you, but the guys who made this are probably more talented than the guys who made what is this game called I just got that I think is delightfully cool. And I deal with this, by the way, if you're looking for these kinds of deeper conversations about games in Brain on Games that I just put out for everybody. Lano? Is it called Lano? It's a really terrible name. Let me tell you what this thing's called. But it's this game that's really creative and really interesting. That clearly your average person wouldn't have thought of. And the fact that they could say, oh, I found a way to express myself in this medium. That's amazing. That's amazing. Lucas says, how do you find these games? They're on Steam, man. I love this shit. Do you think the current team at Rocksteady should make an Arkham game with Damian? I know who Damian is. That's Batman's son. I don't know who Terry McGinnis is. I don't think so, though. I think they should make a straight-up Batman game at this point. Just get back in people's good graces. I know who Damian Wayne is. I know who Ra's al Ghul's daughter is, his mother and stuff, but most people don't pay attention to any of that shit. All right. Let's move forward. Sorry, I was going to show you this game, but it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Somebody wrote a comment I wanted to get to. Max says, telling an AI make this. What do you know, Max? What have you ever made? I've probably made more stuff that has been consumed by more people than you ever will. So unless you can actually back up what you're saying, don't tell me what makes somebody an artist or having a vision. I'm telling you, if you have the tenacity and wherewithal to find the tools that you need to express and to extract and then express what is in your head and share it with the world, and the world responds in a positive way, you, my friend Maxwell, are an artist. There is the only people that complain about what is and isn't art are the people who have never actually made it. Because most real artists will tell you, don't give me a set of rules to tell me what checklist I have to cross off in order to create and be called an artist. Rathizel says, so why didn't you use procedurally generated levels for God of War and Twisted Metal? That tech existed. Well, it didn't exist in a way that I would have been satisfied with. It didn't exist in a way that I could have gotten something that was as good as what we were going for. Now, though, maybe I haven't tried it, but it's definitely gotten a lot better. And we're talking about, in this case, we're talking about visual art. We're not talking about procedurally generated levels done through AI beyond what we've already seen, but that's coming too, and we have seen a little bit of that. I don't think there's no aha, and the same is true today. No, they were different games, man. Look, let me show you an example, right? If you're making a game like Twisted Metal, let's just take Twisted Metal. It's easy. Well, they're both the same in a lot of ways, but if you're taking a game like Twisted Metal and your combat in that level is in many ways predicated on the quality of the level design, then, and if we would have known back then what we know now, which is, hey, here's what I would feed into a computer now, would be, here are the 20 things that we have found over time that make a good Twisted Metal level. Generate in a suburban neighborhood of this size, 20 top-down maps that take into account that. And then make us we'll tell you the 3 we want you to make a wireframe out of. And let's actually try that. What's the problem? You wouldn't do that shit? I'd do that shit all day, every day. What a time save. The only thing that you are advocating, is time that before I would have had to have spent. Yeah. Okay. And it doesn't give you what you want. Then what? Then you adjust. Then you say, you know what? Out of all of these 2 have been really fun. Interesting. Hey, what do you think are the 2 things in these 2 levels that are happening that aren't in the others? Okay, now I want to do some handcrafting, and now I want you to take that and put, it's a dance. It's a tool to, I don't understand. And I don't want to, Max. Max says, go learn about point perspective, composition, light and shadow anatomy. Don't want to. Not interested. You know what I am interested in? I want to make a really cool D&D level for my hack and slash game. Oh, okay. I know I want to have a path. Let's see. Let's have the AI build this based on my description, and then maybe I'll go in and say, "Hey, AI, you know what I'd really like? I would like a road here, like that, and I want it to be higher. Do me a favor, make this, but give it some more twists and turns and populate it with some monsters and give me a surprise up here that I don't know what it is. Pull it from the 30 bucket surprises and let me play through that. Okay. If you don't want to make a game like that, if you want to make a game without any of that support, be my guest. But I'll be over here, or game developers will be using these tools because it speeds up the process and it's fun and it allows you to see things that you wouldn't have seen before. And I'm sorry, but anybody who says otherwise, in my opinion, unless they have you're just wrong. I don't fucking know. I mean, maybe you're right, but I certainly haven't found that to be the case. Where's the camera where I can walk around? Now I can walk around in my level. Look at this shit. Come on, man. Don't fucking come at me and act like this isn't the coolest goddamn thing you've seen. Okay, the D&D show, by the way, no, it is full. I will be streaming it for members on Friday. It'll be 4:00, and then afterwards I'll be doing an edit of it. And in that edit, it'll be more fun to watch. But yeah, this is some cool shit, man. And if I can do it like this, the AI can already do it based on a language model and create this, and then I can go in and fuck with it. All right. Is that right? Bukaki, you're right. Yes, Arathizel. Hopefully the creator has the skills. Okay, but what the skills are going to be different, and they're going to change. They're going to adjust over time, right? So my skill may be I'm really good at knowing how to take my creativity and merge it with game design theory. I'm not so good at all the tools and all that shit. I don't have the patience for it. But me not having the patience for it is what has allowed me to be really good at being an out-of-the-box thinker. I still get to play now because of tools. It's the people who want the tools to only sit in the hands of people of a certain mindset are the ones that really feel gatekeepy to me, and they can go fuck themselves. This is not a level editor. This is... This is a game called Tiny Glade, but what I'm saying is that this is, when I showed this a couple of months ago, one of the Sony devs were in here saying, oh yeah, we have tools like that we use to make our levels with, right? And so what I'm saying is you could easily feed this in to AI, and you could say, okay, AI, this is, I want to, and you've seen this already exists in certain prototypes. I want to feed all these things at the bottom into the AI and how it works. And then I want to just use English to say, hey, give me another little house across the way, but make that one more threatening. So it's like that house is threatening to take over the other house and the people inside of it. Okay. Right? Beat says, do you think people don't actually take into account you were a Sony first-party developer? I mean, it's been a while, but I think we are in the age where anyone and everyone that has an opinion is an expert. Whether it's about vaccines or whether it's about space and science or whether it's about video games or movies. It's not that everyone shouldn't have an opinion and feel free to share it, but it does. I do miss the days when people at least were able to say, I don't agree with this guy, but he's not talking out of his butthole. That was nice. Those were fun days. Okay. Do I think my best work is behind me? In video games? Probably. No, dog, absolutely. I'd like to think my best work is ahead of me when it comes to this channel. That's my passion right now. And it has been for quite some time. So I'd like to think that this channel will continue to get better and more enjoyable and more successful. But that I can't tell you. But in video games, here's what I would say. I would say I absolutely could make some real... There's a couple of video games I would still love to make that are more in the horror walking sim. But as I've said this many, many times, I don't want to do the work involved in building the teams, raising the money, all of that. So if somebody wants to come to me with a turnkey solution and they like what I'm pitching, oh, well, then I'm interested. But the business of making games is so unfun to me at this point that the joy of putting new IP out in the world that I think would be awesome is not big enough to merit me motivating myself to try to actually will it into existence when it comes to the business part of it, is what I would tell you. Okay. Hey, there's Danny the Crawford, my nephew. He says, people still need to be educated on how to tell the AI what to do correctly. It's no different than learning to use Google as a power user. You goddamn right. You still got to, it's still a tool. You got to know how to communicate with it, get the best out of it. You know, damn, I agree with you, Daniel. And Daniel's a great case, by the way. I mean, seriously, Daniel, and again, I know you've changed jobs, but Daniel's experience and education and success is in, I'm just going to say forestry, but I know so little about what you do other than you know a shit ton about trees, and you know a shit ton about forest, and you know a shit ton about how those things affect business and the environment, and you make good ducats going out in the world and spreading that like Johnny Appleseed spreaded his... he had apples, and he says, here's, let's plant, you know, this is what he did. I'm Johnny Appleseed. There's a tree. That's what he did. But anyway, my point though is, and you would probably find, Daniel, and you probably have found, that everybody thinks they know as much as you know about the trees. Well, I got trees out in my backyard. So why is this Daniel fella coming in telling me about I got a tree? I know just as much about it. Look, I made a tree in the game. That's what it must be like, but for Daniel's career. You know, so is what I would say. Will AI create a character that looks like Taylor Swift? Yes. Yes. You can do that now. You know, 2D is a lot easier than 3D. Hey, Rishi has joined the Diet Soda Soldiers. Thank you, buddy. Rishi, listen, bud, I appreciate the support. I want to tell you something. Rishi McSmishy. I'm going to plant a tree in your honor. This tree is planted in honor of our newest member, Rishi, and it will go right in the middle of the pond. And if you ever want to visit Rishi's tree, and I'm going to make it big, baby. Let's make a big tree for Rishi right there in the middle of the pond. Hey. Okay, it has to go here instead. That's not a tree, you fuck. Here, Rishi, you get a tree in the middle of the pond. Look at Rishi's tree. Now let's go visit it. Oh, look, Jojo D, I was trying to find it because I wanted to show people the AI you did on my face. That fucking thing was creepy. I'm going to walk around Rishi's tree though. Hang on. Here. Oh, me, you know, I'm just taking a walk. No big deal. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a little pond down here. Oh, it sounds delightful. I hear the ducks quacking, and they're trees. Those are those are Rishi's trees. Anyway, all right, fellas, my delightful human beings. That has been the show. That has been the show for Gabbin' and Games Live. I will be working on an actual proper Gabbin' and Games, which will be pre-recorded, which we'll talk about, you know, game news and things like that. That'll be coming up tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Maybe it'll go to members for a couple days and go to everybody. I don't know. But in the meantime, consider a subscription. Consider a like. Consider telling your friends about the show. This will be on the podcast as well. And also, more importantly, consider a membership. Support the show here on Patreon. I would appreciate it. You're not getting a stream tonight, Bulbo. Goddamn no. You know why? Because the debate is tonight. But let's do. We open the show on a. We open the show on a negative note about what's going on in the world. I do want to see. I do want to see if there's any new news on this. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this war we're probably about to all have no choice but to experience. Let's see what's going on. I go to Drudge. I'm progressive, but I go to Drudge. Okay, so nothing's changed yet. It's still horror. Okay. Yeah, VP debate is happening tonight. All right. Be well, fellas. Be safe. And we're going to have Sting play us out. Shut up. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye, you guys.